Good morning, and good morning. How are you doing this morning? It is Monday, start of a new week. I don't know, but where you were, maybe it didn't rain, but it rained here so much that I was afraid I wasn't going to have connectivity this morning. But thank you, Lord, I do. I have connectivity. In fact, all my TVs were out until yesterday. So I don't know. They were bowling up there. They were having a good time. But how was your weekend? Did you have a good time? I did. I did. I had a good time, rested a lot because I had no TV. So that meant I needed to read or write. And I did that. And I came up with today's word, which is wisdom. Hey, Big Mo, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. I didn't get a chance to talk to you much yesterday at church, but I hope you're doing well. I did see the family, and they all look good. So, hey, good morning. Good morning. Um, I wanted to talk about wisdom because I think wisdom is always, kind of trick people to believe that wiseness or wisdom only comes with age, and that's not true. According to some of the research that's been done, according to Psychology Today and Forbes and all these other areas that I took some information from, wisdom may be in young people. Wisdom may be in people that have experienced things, or that some things may be innate to them. They may have come here with, a genius factor applied, but they have more sense than what we older people might ever expect. And so don't count them out. Do not count young people out. Give them a chance because they may be not only teaching you something, but showing it in such a way that it can be learned easier, understood as being useful to apply to what you already know. And to me, if we keep adding on to the brain, to the body, what we already know, then that makes us much more powerful. So, anyway, the question is wisdom this morning. So, I was looking at, as I said, Forbes magazine, and they have a couple of them that have some different information. And it's interesting because they talk as wisdom. It says, while many people associate wisdom with advanced age, it's not a prerequisite. For example, some people may become as wise as young people due to their early experiences or trauma. Many people can talk about what they experienced as children, as young, folks coming into the world or being a part of what they would call that teenage years. They experience some things that they will carry the rest of their lives. But would you count them out as not being wise? They can be wise. They can be wise. I remember when I was a counselor, some of the best information that I ever learned from some of my young clients was the fact that what they went through was teachable. What they went through was teachable, which made it more, what I would say, confirming and understandable as to how they got where they were. But it also talked about how I needed to look at using my discernment of how I'd help them move forward. Help them move forward. So it says, what is wisdom? It says, wise people generally share an opinion that life's problems can be solved with experience or a certain amount of calm in facing difficult decisions. And it says, intelligence may be necessary for wisdom. It says, but it definitely isn't sufficient. An ability to see the bigger picture, a sense of proportion, intellectual humility, and considerable introspection also contribute to development. Not just my development, but your own development. It says, wisdom can be acquired only through experience, but not by itself. Experience does not automatically confer wisdom. And it says, researchers are continuing to probe the social aspect of wisdom, the emotional, the cognitive, the processes that pretty much transmute experience into wisdom. Uh, to me, that makes sense. That makes much more sense than me thinking that I don't know anything. Sometimes what I know is from my experience. Sometimes it's from my research. Sometimes it's just from my gut feeling. I just have a gut feeling about certain things. I'm quite sure you do. It says, according to Psychology Today, wisdom can only be acquired through experience, but experience alone doesn't automatically lead to wisdom. Wisdom is a broad and deep body of knowledge based on someone's experience. Good morning, Joan. How are you? Today, our word is wisdom, and I know Joan is a wise woman. It says it involves applying knowledge with discernment based on experience, evaluations, lessons learned. For example, and I love this little statement it has in quotes. It says, for example, an unknown author said, knowledge is knowing what to say. Wisdom is knowing when to say it. That's good. I'll say it again. Knowledge is knowing what to say, but wisdom is knowing when to say it. So sometimes we have a lot of information, but it may not be necessary right away. We may have to wait a minute. We have to wait and figure out when would this best be applied or given. It says while many people associate wisdom as age, it's not a prerequisite. As we've already said, engaging with new people. It says young people may have experienced things through their trauma, but it says others can become wise by seeking out new experiences. That's why it's always saying learning is lifelong. Every day we should engage in something we didn't know before, we didn't do before, but the new exposure adds newness to our brains and our experience level. It says engaging with new people, exploring new places, those who love to go traveling. Like, and I know both Joan and Mo love to cruise. They said every time you go places, that experience adds to your wiseness of the world because you know more because you know more. I remember last year when I went to Australia, and I don't know why I said, well, they speak like a language that I may not understand, like good day, mate, and all that kind of stuff. They were like, we're going to speak what you speak, you know. And sure enough, when I got there, everybody was warm and welcoming, and they were willing to teach you things. I mean, I learned how to get in and off the transit, and I was doing it all within those 6 days I was there. I did everything just to make sure that I experienced something. So now I can tell people what it looks like there, while the people were, how some of the foods tasted. I don't like Aussie pie, by the way. I didn't like that. But other than that, I had a good time. It says, while many people associate wisdom with the age, it says, just remember that when we reflect on our lives, include some young people in it. And it says, but researchers are still studying the social, the emotional, the cognitive possessions that turn experience into wisdom. And it says, contrary to popular opinion, anyone can be wise based on their characteristics and skills, not just their years of experience. It says it's more typical for the wise to be more senior, but it's not a prerequisite. In addition, wisdom tends to be correlated with less loneliness. So socializing is good for your wisdom. Okay, socializing. Isolating yourself, not always as good. It says it really biologically, it says the alleviation of loneliness also assists us to be able to understand more about ourselves in the world and of the world. And that was from those things were from Forbes magazine, Psychology Today, and you can find them on the internet. Forbes is www.forbes.com cites wisdom. So that's what that's under. But anyway, when we move on, it says, and I found this too, and I liked it. It says, what are the components of wisdom? These are some quick little areas. And it says, wisdom encompasses cognitive components such as knowledge and experience, reflective components, or the ability to explain situations and oneself, and pro-social components, meaning benevolent and compassion. Wisdom is also connected to the ability as such as perspective taking open-mindedness, and intellectual humility. So to me, that's a mouthful. But to understand it, it's like get out there, be social, talk to people of all ages, take information in from them, give out your own information. Guess what? You've grown. You've grown. You've grown. But anyway, when I break the word down this morning, I'm going to ask you this morning, are you stuck? Occasionally we all get stuck. We get stuck thinking that only what we know is enough to save the world. No, I always used to remember my mother, and always used to make me laugh. When the way my sister didn't go out much, but she claimed to know a lot, my sister. And she would always sit in a window. And we lived in New York, so she would sit in a window. Not we lived in upstate New York. And she'd always sit in this window. And she knew everything that went on in that, what she could see in that one block. And so my mother would always say, I don't know how you can predict what's happening in the world from your seat with the window view of one block. It cannot be done. But it always used to make me laugh. Good morning, Adelia. It always used to make me laugh because she said, you cannot be the news anchor, okay, on what's happening in the world from this one block. And that's true. We have to get out and see the world. We have to get out and know other people and ask questions and be willing to engage in conversations. And what I would say, enjoy life. Enjoying life makes us wiser than sitting and thinking that we know it all from a window that only shows us a block. Ooh, I remember that. That was pretty good. So anyway, according to Webster, that's Merriam, it says the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise is wisdom. It's the sagacity, the insight, the intelligence, the perception. It's the acuity, the judgment, the acuteness, the circumspection, the foresight. It says the clear-sightedness, the smart, the savvy, and the visibility. So when we look at the word wisdom, we look at a plethora of things that are feeding into us being wise, or feeding into others who we consider to be wise. And sometimes we may start a conversation where we're not the wise ones. It may come from a 3-year-old. It may come from somebody we just didn't expect it to be in. Like I always, would be intrigued when I would encounter a child who was gifted, almost like a prodigy, like this unknown little, sweetheart that can just cite information, just automatically knows it. And I've had my experience twice with just these little faces that have information far beyond their years. Do they have, this ability to be able to have a conversation or just spew information? It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're taking it in and you see it as being worthwhile to listen to. And sometimes they have information which not only you need to know, but once you know it, you add it to what you already know, which is a good thing. So when I break the word down this morning, my W is for watchfulness. We as people who are in a position to be wise or have wisdom, it says we should have watchfulness, which is a noun that means the state of being constantly attentive and responsive to signs of activity, of signs of danger or opportunity. We're on the prowl. We're looking. We're trying to figure out what's out there. What else do I need to know? Who has this information? How can I make it a part of what it is that I know? And how can I make it where I give it to other people if it's worthy to be known and be, passed on? It says, for example, it is only her motherly watchfulness that she saved the boy from an accident. That's us. We're going to try to do what we can to, if we see danger coming, we're certainly going to try to, avert the danger by, notifying the person that might be in danger. That's why I was one of those mothers that always worried about my child in the swimming pool because I didn't swim. I don't know how, and I always tell the story. I don't know how I made it to undergraduate school because it was a requirement that we know how to swim. I made it across the pool because there was a woman down there at the other end yelling at me to get in and do it. and I got in and I did it, and I never did it again. That was just me. Well-being, that's good, Joan. But that was just me. I got through it, but I never used it again. But sometimes we are forced to become, wise quickly, but doesn't mean that it's gonna reinforce us to do it again. But I never did it again. But I was that doting mother who always said, well, look, my daughter's gonna know how to swim, so she knows how to swim. I made sure she had all the classes and good trainers, and I made her more wise at that. Wonder, oh, that's good too, Ardelia, to make sure that we wonder about what else is next. You see, my swim experience was the same in college. Okay, for some reason, some of us, have such fear of water. Like, I like showers and I like baths, but after that, I always said I cannot drink all that water. So I always had a fear about water. And I've had that kind of thing that just said, I can't do it. I can't do it. But, I was forced to do it, got it done. But there it is. But in terms of my watchfulness, I became watchful over my child. So I became wise and had wisdom over what it is that I knew I had a fear about, making her more able to be able to swim than of course my inability to swim. So anyway, it says, so when we have this watchfulness, it says that we're mindful, we're vigilant, we're wakefulness. We have mindfulness, awareness, watchfulness, of course, and receptiveness. We understand. We understand what we got to do. We can't leave it to somebody else. Our watchfulness needs to be that we're looking out for ourselves and maybe others in our watchfulness. That's what we're doing. When I move on in the word, my I in wisdom is for impart. When we impart, we have ability to tell something, to discuss something, you know, we're letting someone else know, we're notifying people. So it says to impart is to make known. Okay, sometimes we have information that others need to know. I think I would have been a good town crier, period. I'd have I was stood up on that little one block he was standing up on. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Hear ye, hear ye. I'd have been hear ye, hearing ye everywhere, just to make sure that people understood and they knew what it was that was expected of us, of the town that that we were living in. This is a proclamation, or this is a note from the king or the queen has sent down a citation, whatever it is. Okay, I would be that town crier. So I would be imparting that information. Identity is good. Sometimes we do have to identify the problem, identify our wisdom by what's going on, or at least, share in the imparting of information that we're sharing together. And it says that we're giving something, we're bestowing information, it's our way of communicating, to imparting knowledge. So it's not just that we're talking, we're talking with information that others can use. And so we're imparting this whole thing. It says it's where when we impart, we're also communicating, we're conveying information, passing it on to others, passing it on, like, so every once in a while, I remember when we would be without lights and water and all this kinds of stuff, they would tell you, hey, they have water, just by people going out and milling around, when we would have that after the hurricane, where you could find water at, who's giving away water, who's giving out the rations, because we would be in that position where, we've already done our 5 days of what we have in our freezers and everything. But now we need to look at, the 10-day. I remember I was out 11 days. Being out without power for 11 days that's a mess. But I could cook. So I did cook up stuff and shared it with my neighbors. And we became wise about each other because before that, we didn't know much about each other. So that was the way we did it. But when we impart something, we're passing on, we're transmitting, we're admitting that we know a little bit of information. Where it may be an announcement, it may be a break from something, or it's just disclosing. That's how we work it. When we move on in the word of wisdom, we talk about our sensitivity or sensibility. Are we sensible about the information that we have and how we give it to others? Are we? Sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're not. But sensibility is the ability to appreciate and respond to complex and emotional aesthetics and influences. So, therefore, it makes us where we're sensitive about what's going on. Serious. That's good, Joan. Are we serious about how we look at things, understand things, appreciate things, and then are we able to give it to others in such a way that we're sensitive about it, we're sincere about it, and we're sound about it, meaning that we understand what we're saying. And so we really talk about it. Is it subtle or do we give it to them roughly? We're making it where we understand it and therefore making it with it could be understood. And sensibility also talks about the empathy that's being applied. Are we empathetic in our discussions with other people? Or are we, kind of braggers or bulldozing in our information that we're giving? We have to be careful about how we give out this thing called wisdom. Is it that we're really not empowering ourselves, but really are we just having this discussion that helps other people chime in? Because I find that sometimes in conversations, it's not just that you're talking, but you also have to be able to listen and hear what others have to say. That's when we learn. That's when we learn from others because they're going to tell us what they've been through, how it affected them, and therefore how it can be applied based on what they went through. So when we have the sensibility, it says it's insight, it's intuition, it's responsiveness, and it's also receptibility. Because, we can give out information. Not everybody will accept it, plain and simple. Some people say, I have to learn it for myself. Yeah, I heard what you said, but I have to learn it for myself. And that's okay. That's privilege. That's their right. And sensibility also talks about awareness. Not just that I aware, but I'm making someone else aware. And this concept of wisdom, because maybe somebody came to me to ask me, what did I think? When people ask you what you think, you want to give them the most, confidential, uh, discerning information possible. Like here's the information that I have, or let's look it up together. I'm good with that. If there's something that I'm going through, or they're going through, or we're going through together, then let's research it together. So see what we can find. Okay. My D is for discernment. I've mentioned discernment a couple of times now because discernment is judgment. How well are we judging what it is that we're doing and we're doing with others or for others? So, discernment also talks about what are we observing, something or someone carefully or in order to gain information. One of the things my parents always taught us is that, watch what others do and then determine, that would be your discernment. Determine what it is that you're getting out of it. What are you getting out of it? If it's nothing, um, so be it. But if it's something, then write it down and put it into maybe an operational process. But what is it that you're getting? And discernment also comes with perception, demonstration. There it is. Yeah, that's what my parents were saying. Um, Discernment also comes with perception. People may give something in discernment, but it has to be perceived in a certain amount too. You know, then it's acumen, shrewdness. Do we want to be discerning and be shrewd? Excuse me, shrewd in our delivery? No. It also talks about being clever, and sometimes the cleverness of the way things are given helps people retain it or people reject it based on how clever we were in our delivery. And then it says just the quality of having great knowledge. You know, Erudition is the quality of having great knowledge. When we move further on in our word of wisdom, my O of wisdom is for observationist. We should be looking at what we are doing and what others are doing. How can we apply it? What does it make sense? Do we have a reason to be doing it? Um, will it save the world? Will it save, your street? Will it save your child? We're always looking at something that may be saved by what it is that we do. Orderly. Come on now. We need to be in order and how we do things. And sometimes we're not. Um, but sometimes things come to us late where the information may have been out there a while, but we don't discover it until later on. So observationist is the action of the process of observing something or someone carefully or in order to gain information, watching, monitoring, be having scrutiny, in inspection, because sometimes we have to inspect what it is that we're being delivered in a visual form, viewing, studying, examination, and then review. All those things speak to being something that we're observing. As an observationist, we are observing something, and people, regardless of what we think, they observe us. So people may learn by what it is that you're doing or not doing, because people will fill in what I call the gaps. They would fill in the gaps. And my last letter I have in the word wisdom is manner. That's what I chose. What would you choose? Manner. Manner is the way of doing, being done, or happening. So a lot of times I think we may not like someone's manner and what the information, even though the information may have been good, but the manner in which it was delivered was not good. So therefore the information was lost at the level of where it was being communicated, because they rejected the person, they rejected the way they told it, they rejected the information totally. Okay. Management, yes, we have to manage, how it is that we use our wisdom, what we do, who we do it with and for, why, that whole who, where, what, when, why. That's important. That's important for us to know. So the manner talks about a way of doing, being done, or happening, the mode of action. It's the occurrence. Like if it's a one-time occurrence, but the information was great, maybe it needs to be occur again. Maybe you need to put it out there in such a way that it repeats itself. The interesting thing about social media is that social media does that for us. You may write something, 2 weeks ago and post it. 3 weeks later, it shows up again where people are still responding to it. So to me, social media is a form of, for some people, to be their true selves and showing wisdom, whereas others, there may be some deceitfulness to it. They may not be as honest as they should be. They may be really out there just, positioning themselves to scam. So we have to pay attention. So the manner of the way in which we give information should be in such a way that we not only agree with, but we can handle. We can handle it. It also talks about the mode of action, the occurrence, the aspects, the demeanor, the style. Like if you're a person that, hits things and I want, no, calm down. For me, it's a calm down. You don't have to deliver the information to me, by beating on tables, okay, or raising your voice, rolling your eyes. We're good. We're good. Not to say that I haven't occasionally done that, but I had to be mad to really do something. But I generally am not. That's not me. That is not my mode of how I deliver information. It also says that the style in which you do it, like if you sometimes you can deliver the worst information as long as your face is pleasant, you know. But if your face is all screwed up and you're angry and you're showing the anger in the words, only heighten the delivery of your anger as being the message that's given. Sometimes that turns people off and they don't find it to be wise. They find it to be rude, you know. So sometimes we do have to watch the way in which we talk, the style, the tone, the look, the appearance, you know. if you're angry at me and you come towards me and your appearance is one of violence, then yes, I'm done talking, you know, because you've raised the bar to the level where whatever you're saying, even if it may be wise, I've lost it at the level of your anger, So sometimes we just have to be aware of that. And then it talks about manner is also your presence. So I want to be present, not just in the flesh, but heartfelt wise, consciously. I want to be there so that I'm doing something that makes sense to me, but is understood by you. Understood. And it says you do it with affection, and you do it with mannerisms that are non-provoking, such as, hey, I just want you to know that so and so happened, but it wouldn't be, I'm letting you know. We've already changed how it could be perceived, how it could be perceived. So sometimes we are part of the understanding that to be wise is a good thing. To have wisdom is a great thing. To get it from just the people who are older, not necessarily so. It says that they may have information, whereas the young people may still have information that the older people don't even know. For instance, technology, technology alone, the slang of the words that we use, when we were young, we used different words. They have different words now. They've shortened the level of words that they use, still meaning the same thing. So we have to sometimes realize that our wisdom may be our need to stay current. Stay current. Hey, what's the latest going on? I ask questions. I'll tell you in a minute. I ask questions, and I have young people that love me, and I love them. They look to me for wisdom. I go to them for wisdom as well. Hey, I don't know this term. Hey, I don't know this information. Hey, what can you shed on this? That's an exchange of information, that letting people know that you appreciate them, you acknowledge them, and you understand that wisdom does not just have to be from people that are older. People that are younger, people in between the young and the old, all have wisdom because they've experienced life. They've lived through some things. It may have been traumatic, it may have been joyful, but they're letting you know by their conversations where they've been and how they've done, how they fared. Listen, I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful Monday and Tuesday, and I'm going to see you on Wednesday. I will be back, and we will talk more about another word on Are You Stuck? And it is something that I believe in, that we expand our memories, we expand our ability to have conversations like this when we put this out in such a way that gives you discernment over writing something of how you would choose words, just as the words that I've chosen are different too. Okay? Have a wonderful day. If you don't do anything else, hit that share button and let people know that Dr. Winnie's here and I'm willing to speak on Are You Stuck? Not everybody will be stuck. Sometimes we get stuck, but we don't have to stay there. Listen, I see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much for dropping in. Bye-bye.